Select Board. I will call to order the October 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Plymouth Select Board at this time. This is a meeting that is taking place in a hybrid format consistent with modifications made to the open meeting law by the Legislature of the Commonwealth. Members of the public and members of the board are joining us over Zoom this evening at the webinar link that is included on the website on the posted agenda there. Members of the public and presenters may also be joining us here at the Great Hall at Town Hall at 26 Court Street. Members of the public that wish to participate may join us at the Great Hall here at Town Hall or may join us over the Zoom webinar platform. Members of the public are also reminded that any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. At present, I am aware of a recording taking place being conducted by the local scene. We are unaware of any other recordings taking place. Tonight's meeting will start with an executive session. I will read the executive session language. The Select Board will hold an executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. This particular executive will be in relation to specifically 260 Ryder Way. Do I have a motion to enter into executive consistent with that language?
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Mr. Bletzer has moved, Mr. Golden has seconded. Any discussion about whether or not we should enter into executive at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. The board will be returning from executive session into open session at approximately 6 p.m. Thank you. meeting, the Plymouth Select Board's open session at this time. It did take a little bit longer than we anticipated in the executive. We apologize for that. But with that in mind, we are going to start right on with our agenda. First thing on our agenda is the Edward W. Santos Community Service Award, the 2024 Edward W. Santos Community Service Award honoree. We are joined by Michael Gallerani. Mr. Gallerani?
Good evening.
Oh, we should do the pledge first, shouldn't we? My mistakes. 1 second. Please join the board for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. My mistake. Mr.
Good
Gallerani,
evening.
without further ado, thank you.
Thank you for having us tonight. Great communities are built on many things. Leadership and vision by elected officials. Dedication and honesty by the professional staff. Interest and support from the business community. And great volunteers that avail themselves for all that needs to be done. Youth sports coaches, staffers during special events, town boards and committees, nonprofit organizations, schools, fundraising, and being the eyes, ears, and voices for the community. Each contributes to making Plymouth better. The Edward W. Santos Community Service Award is an extension of the legacy of and all the service that Ed Santos gave to Plymouth during his lifetime. We all know the story: boards of directors, the PIDC, fundraising, guidance, inspiration, and leadership. Only those that are worthy to stand on Ed's shoulders are considered for the annual award. We look for those that are remarkable community servants. The honoree must be a contributor of time, knowledge, and resources. They must care about Plymouth, the people who live here, and those that visit. They must do so quietly and loudly. They must be honest and have no limits on what they can be asked to do. The 2024 Edward W. Santos Community Service honoree is all that. He is someone who has given his all over the past 40 years. He has served the town on boards and committees, worked tirelessly to bring an important part of the historic downtown and waterfront to life, been active in local nonprofits, and when faced with a personal tragedy, rose up to help others. The 2024 honoree was instrumental in the creation of the Spire, a project that has become a keystone of the downtown. He has given freely of his time to the Chamber of Commerce and in service to the town. When he lost his son to addiction, he found the strength to work to help others. The Plymouth Recovery Center has become an important part of this community. I respectfully request that the Select Board, on behalf of the people of Plymouth, recognize the 2024 Edward W. Santos Community Service Award honoree, Robert L. Hollis, Jr.
Oh, thank you. I love Plymouth, as you know. And I loved Ed Santos. Ed was actually the guy that enabled us to make the final push for the Spire. It was his help. One of the last donations from that corporation was to the Spire Center of $100,000 to get us started. I just love being named in the same breath as Ed Santos because he is someone we can all look up to. He's such an inspiration. And I just wanted to take maybe just a minute to share a couple of things that inspired me, because I want to make sure that everyone in this community knows it doesn't have to be just myself or Ed or anyone here. Anyone can do something in this community to make it better. It just has to take the bull by the horn and say that we have a need, let's get it done. And one of the first things that always inspired me, I was one of those Kennedy guys growing up in the mid-'60s, Robert Kennedy. This is what he said. It stuck with me for the rest of my life. There are those who look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask, why not? That has stuck with me. And if I would look around and see something that needed to be done, if I had the ability to do it, I did it. But anyone else in this community can do the same thing. If the cause is righteous, go for it. And that's the next saying that I'd like to share with you. Because early in my career, I had the privilege of listening to Lou Holtz, a great college football coach, address a meeting that I was at. And he had just come off a very bad experience coaching the New York Jets. He was a great college football coach who said he was going to try coaching in the pros. And this is what he told us. That was his mistake, because he said he was going to try it. What he told us to remember is trying is lying. You either do it or you don't. If the cause is righteous, if you've been called to do something, you have a purpose, and you know this needs to get done, why not? Why not me? I'm not going to try this. I'm just going to do it. And what does that open you up to? You burn the bridges behind you. Whatever needs to be done to get done, it happens. That's how the Spire happened. It was hard in the beginning because it was just a few of us, but now it's a community that we keep building all the time, just not the building, but a community. Now it gets easier and easier, and we have more and more ideas. The Plymouth Recovery Center, we got it started, but now the state is funding that, and they're doing great things. They had 1,500 visits come through in 1 month just a few months ago. So those are the only things I wanted to share with you, is to think like Robert Kennedy, and just remember what Lou Holtz said. If once you make that decision, don't try it, just go and do it. That's all I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Bletzer, did you have
Comment,
something you
sure.
would like to say?
Yeah, I'd like to, Bob, I'd just like to say that Ed Santos was quite a man. He deserves every tribute he can get, every honor he can get. The memorial that Mike has put together with his committee is going to be great for the community. And we're hoping that this memorial will get more people involved in public service. And we need more, I said we need more Ed Santos, but we need more Bob Hollises too. And everybody's familiar with the Spire. Everybody out there knows what the Spire has done. But to get that was a lot of work. You had to do a lot of work. You had to do a lot of begging for money from town meeting. And you inspired faith, the people in town meeting had faith and confidence in you to get you, I don't know how many million that has gone into that building. But it's turned into exactly what you envision it to be. If anybody doesn't realize, you go to some concerts and there's some great shows there, but the economic development that is created in our downtown, for our downtown and waterfront businesses, we're so lucky to have the Spire, because it's only a couple hundred seats, but it's quality entertainment. It brings people in, and they go to dinner in all the restaurants, and they visit the shops. And it's been so great for our community. And then piggybacking with our Memorial Hall down the street, when there's a show in each one of those buildings, you can't get a seat anywhere in town. It's great to see. And I don't care if it's November or February, what month it is. It's what you've done with that. But working in the court system, I'm very familiar with the opiate crisis and what it did to our community. And we now have a drug court, mental health drug court. We didn't have that years ago. We didn't have the resources to help all these people. And this recovery center that you started, and I know you took a personal tragedy, and you didn't just lay down and just fall apart. You get up, and you got yourself together, and your wife, and you worked real hard in your son's name to do something about this epidemic. You've created that recovery center, and I know firsthand what it does. I see it. I see, all the people that's helped up there. It's amazing how many people you've saved, how many lives you've saved with that recovery center. So, Plymouth is a huge recovery center, is a huge recovery area, and that center is a big part of it. So what you've done, and I just hope more people strive to be like Ed Santos and like Bob Hollis. And they can see this memorial wherever it goes. I'm hoping it's going to be at the library. And they can see and they can read what this is all about. And maybe they'll say, I want to be just like them. and I want to do something, public service in this community. So anyway, I can't wait to see who the candidate is next year. And I thank you for everything you've done. And Mike, thank you for this, for creating this.
My honor.
So
Thank
I want to give another round of applause for Bob.
Any other members of the board? Mr. Mahoney, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Kevin. Bob, so I also had the opportunity to hear Lou Holtz give a speech, but it was at the other end of his spectrum from a success standpoint. It was immediately after his undefeated season coaching Notre Dame back in '88. But one of my favorite Lou Holtz quotes is, if you're average, you're the best of the worst, or you're the worst of the best, okay? So I'm not going to go into everything in your bio, but just picking up on the Spire, we talked for years before that happened. Actually, I shouldn't say we. You talked to myself and others whenever you had the opportunity about the potential of that structure. You know, obviously I know you're into music. You talked to me about the acoustics, the perfect opportunity for the community. And when opportunity arose, you put the team together and executed. And obviously, sure, the taxpayers of Plymouth had to step up, and they did. But to see where that, I couldn't have envisioned, maybe you could have, but a decade or so ago, where the Spire is today in year 11. We're currently in year 11. You just celebrated the 10th. Year over year, building attendance, tens of thousands of people coming into this phenomenal structure. And, you know, it's a small venue, but it's a wonderful venue. I returned from Maine a couple of weekends ago with my sister. We're coming through the city, and I had BZ on, because I got to know what's going on with traffic. And I'm listening. I'm listening to somebody multiple times reference shows coming up in the Spire in the Boston media market. And if that wouldn't have happened, you know, just another way of putting Plymouth on the map, and ultimately that was all because of your vision. So I can't thank you enough.
I will say a few words. I know in relation to the Recovery Center, I work in the court system. I work at the Recovery Court, formerly known as the Drug Court. I've known people in the main criminal session as well that are not in Recovery Court or prior Drug Court that have benefited from the Recovery Center. It's made a big difference. I started in my field sort of at the beginning of the height of the opioid epidemic around here, back in 2014. Things have, in some regards, improved in terms that it seems like there's less individuals that are having an issue, but in some ways it's worsened in the sense that back then it was oxys, perks, and heroin, and now you can't get heroin even if you want it. It's fentanyl or worse everywhere, which is, and people are putting fentanyl in things that aren't even opiates, and it's killing a lot of people unnecessarily. It always has been, and it's very unfortunate. But I think services like the ones you've provided and turning a personal tragedy into something to help other people is certainly meaningful. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are with their families now and will be for years that wouldn't have been if you didn't do what you did. So I have noticed that, I appreciate that, and I just want to say that, you know, it is recognized and it is felt. Thank you. All right, do we want to take some photos? All right, so we will briefly have a recess of the meeting for that, for 2 minutes, so we can stand up and do that. We'll be right back for the main session. Mr. Hollis's contributions and commemorate the 2024 honoree for the Edward W. Santos Community Service Award. That brings us right back into our agenda. We have a few public hearings this evening. First and foremost, we have a public hearing in relation to an above-ground storage license. I will read the public hearing notice. In accordance with Chapter 148 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024 at 6:20 p.m. or thereafter, and consider the application from Petro Home Services for license of above-ground storage of 4,300 gallons of liquid propane gas in 10 120-gallon propane tanks, 5 60-gallon propane tanks, and 1 2,800-gallon propane bobtail tank truck storage located at 20 Holman Road. Frank C. Dunlap Incorporated is the owner of the land. This will be in addition to their already licensed 205,605 gallons of flammable and combustible liquids, flammable gases, and solids. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. Do we have anyone here to speak on behalf of the applicant or the application? Please come to the podium and identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Tom Lebrecht from Petro Home Services.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, would you like to say anything, or are you
No,
just
we're
available
just
for questions?
petitioning to do exactly what you said, store a bobtail in a fenced-in area, the 100-gallon propane tanks, so we could have propane tanks in this area to better the business in
Okay.
the community.
Okay. All right, thank you. And any questions for the applicant? Hearing and seeing none. All right. Do we have anyone else here other than the applicant to speak in favor of the application? I do see there's a hand on Zoom. Is that in relation to this?
There is, I'm not sure it's in relation to this, but I can allow her to speak.
Yes, if it's in relation to this, yes. Kathy Shea, it appears, has a digital hand raised on Zoom. If Kathy Shea wishes to speak in relation to the public hearing, please unmute yourself and let yourself be heard. You appear to be unmuted. Ms. Shea, would you care to say anything in relation to the hearing?
No, thank you, not at this time.
Okay. All right. No one else here to speak in favor? All right, we had no questions. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Hearing and seeing none in person. It doesn't appear we have anyone else on Zoom. All right, and no questions for any members of the board? All right. If that's the case, I will close the public hearing. Thank you for being here. For any questions we may have had, just because we don't have any, doesn't mean we don't value that you were here. Do I have any motion from the board in relation to this application?
I'll make a motion to approve the above-ground storage license for Petro Home Services as presented.
All right, Mr. Golden has moved. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Mahoney has seconded that we approve the application for this license as presented. Any discussion from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, I will go alphabetically through the roll. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We have approved the license. Thank you to the applicant. Thank you to everyone that was present. That brings us to the next public hearing. The next public hearing is for a transfer of annual all-alcohol restaurant liquor license from Lena's Hospitality LLC, 63 Long Pond Road, Daniel Casanelli, manager, to Gardenia Palace Incorporated, doing business as Gardenia Palace, 63 Long Pond Road, Jiali Huang, manager. Read the public hearing notification. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, at 6:15 PM or thereafter, to consider the application for a transfer of annual all-alcohol restaurant liquor license from Lena's Hospitality LLC, 63 Long Pond Road, Daniel Casanelli, manager, to Gardenia Palace Incorporated, doing business as Gardenia Palace, 63 Long Pond Road, Jiali Huang, manager. Description of premises will be as follows: 3,500 square feet of first-floor restaurant space, including open kitchen, dining room, restaurant, and bar services, one entrance and exit. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. Call the hearing to order at this time. Anyone here to speak on behalf of this particular application? Hearing and seeing none in person. I see a digital hand appears to be raised. Is that someone wishing to speak in favor of the application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to speak in favor of the application.
Okay, I can just barely hear you, so I'm not sure if you're speaking away from a microphone or if your audio is turned down, but if you could speak up, just so we can hear you clearly in the room.
Yes, I'll try to do that. My name is Attorney Russell Chin. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Gardenia Palace, Inc. Gardenia Palace is a mass corporation. They're looking to take over this restaurant that is currently in service. It would be new management, new ownership. They would probably continue with some of the menu items and would propose to add some additional items. There are a number of individual principals involved in this company, and all of them do have restaurant experience. They also have liquor service experience, and the manager in particular has that experience. We've submitted to you a number of certificates on their behalf with our package, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Bletzer?
Yeah, Attorney Chin, I just have a couple of questions. What kind of experience? Do they own other restaurants, or have they run other restaurants, this group?
They have. They all have various degrees of experience running restaurants, managing them, owning them, front of the house, back of the house, kitchen, bar, etc. So it's quite a varied group, and they've put together a team that they believe is prepared to operate a restaurant of this size based on their experience.
Have they owned another restaurant?
They have.
You got a name?
Trying to look through the application to see if it's named here.
Let's see.
I don't think I see it in the application.
Let's see. Did you see it?
I do not. Do you have any other questions, Mr.?
Yeah, I do. I was waiting for that, but now, are they gonna close down, well, actually, it's closed now. How long, do they have to renovate? How long will it be closed? What's their anticipated open?
They hope to open in a matter of a month or two. They have already negotiated and executed a new lease with the landlord. They have passed muster with the landlord in terms of finances and capabilities. I believe it's called Late Night LLC is the landlord over there. He's completely satisfied with this particular group. We negotiated that lease very quickly after he examined and did his due diligence.
Right. And Plymouth now has become a very competitive town now with the restaurant industry. What type of fare will they be doing? Will it be an Asian fare, or will it, I know it's Italian currently, but what type of fare would they be doing?
Yes, they will not be continuing with the Italian fare, to my knowledge. I think they're going to rely on their expertise, which is in the area of Asian food, various types of Asian food,
Right.
including Asian fusion, sushi and the like. If they find that there's an appetite for that in that area and that there's not too much competition.
Oh, good. That area is now starting to build up. There's some medical offices, so there's a lot of, it's that Shops at Five is starting to build up over there, and hopefully that will be helpful to your group. I wish you all the success in your venture. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you very much, and that's a cogent point that you make, because the lunchtime business is oftentimes an opportunity for these types of restaurants to, to make a little bit more of a profit. It is a difficult industry, as you know, and sometimes with the catering business at the lunch hour can make a big difference.
Right. No, it's definitely a tough business, but we're a big tourist town, and so we need all the restaurants we can get, I think. So thank you.
Thank you. Were you able to ascertain the name of the other business that they own, the other restaurant? If not, that's fine, but just let us know, one way or the other.
I have not been able to, but I can send an email or a list down by email tomorrow morning to the clerk if you would like that.
Okay, please do so. Any other questions from any other members of the board? Is there a different individual's digital hand raised? Is that, it doesn't appear to be Mr. Quinn. Is this someone, oh, okay. Would you like to speak in favor of the application? Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. I'm Jolly Huang, the manager of the the applicant. So I just heard you are asking the restaurant we owned.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have two restaurants. One is called Gourmet Garden in Beverly, Massachusetts. It's in the north Massachusetts.
Okay.
And another one we owned is in Foxborough. It's called Foxborough Mandarin Restaurant. And
Okay.
we owned two. And we have 3 people, and all of us, we served liquors, and we doing the restaurant business for many years, over 10 years, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
thank you.
Welcome to Plymouth.
Yes. Any other questions from any other members of the board? All right. Anyone else, other than those that have already spoken, here to speak in favor of this application? Hearing and seeing none. Anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none in person, seeing none online. All right. And there's no other questions from members of the board? There are none, so I will call the hearing to a close at this time. Do I have a motion in relation to the application from a member of the board?
I'll make a motion to transfer annual all alcohol restaurant liquor license from Lena's Hospitality LLC to Gardenia Palace Incorporated.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Mr. Golden has moved, Mr. Bletzer has seconded. Any discussion from any members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Congratulations. I will go later on our agenda, but related to this, there are licenses in conjunction with a liquor license in relation to Gardenia Palace Incorporated, doing business as Gardenia Palace, 63 Long Pond Road, requesting the following licenses in conjunction with the request for transfer of annual all alcohol restaurant license, requesting a comprehensive entertainment group 1 for radio and television, and a common victualler license. Do we have any questions from any members of the board, or what is the wish of the board in relation to these licenses in conjunction with the liquor license?
I'll
Mr.
make a
Bletzer?
motion to approve.
Mr. Bletzer moves that we approve the 2 licenses listed in conjunction with a liquor license related to Gardenia Palace. Do I have a second?
Second?
Mr. Golden has seconded. Any discussion from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Congratulations once again. All right, that brings us to the next public hearing that's listed on our agenda, that being a new annual all-alcohol restaurant liquor license from DPRR Corporation doing business as Patty Shack, 315 Court Street, Rodrigo Costa, manager. In accordance with Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, at 6:25 PM or thereafter, to consider the application for an annual all-alcohol restaurant license from DPRR Corporation doing business as Patty Shack, 315 Court Street, Rodrigo Costa, manager. Description of premises is as follows: 3,669 square feet, one floor with 3 entrances and exits, outdoor patio area, dining area, large kitchen with dry storage, a walk-in cooler, and additional storage areas, includes 3 restrooms. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. I will declare the hearing open at this time. Do we have anyone here, either physically or virtually, who wishes to speak on behalf of the application? Okay. Up to the podium there.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm Rodrigo Costa, I'm the manager. The reason we applied for this license is because a lot of our clients, our customers, asking for beer with a burger, asking if we can offer a glass of wine, and you want to be able to offer a frozen margarita in the summer. Everything goes good with a burger, right? That's the reason we applied for this license.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Mr. Bletzer?
Rodrigo, I was there last week. You got a great place, great burger.
Thank you.
My family, I'm just, the size of the place, are you gonna change the counter? How are you gonna incorporate the,
We just want to be able to offer it. You're not going to put a bar
yeah,
for now, not for
no
now.
buy, no seat?
No,
'cause,
for
yeah.
now, yeah.
So you just wanna be able to offer it, so you
Yeah.
gotta figure out,
Absolutely,
it'll
yeah.
be kinda tight there, but.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, good, because that'll change the whole, that would change
Absolutely,
the whole,
yeah.
yeah. Because you got a good concept, you really do.
Thank you.
What about your hours of operation? Will that change, or you
No,
gonna keep the same hours?
The same
You're not
hour.
looking, in other words, you're not looking to go late night, any of that
No,
stuff, yeah?
no.
Because I just will tell it,
We want to try to keep that family oriented. You know.
because it'll change your life.
Yeah,
If you go to a bar, it's gonna change your whole lifestyle.
absolutely.
I know for a fact, so, being in the business for a lot of years, but,
Yeah.
you get nice help there, nice people.
Thank you.
Very friendly, and, you got a good product, so I wouldn't want to see that change, but, good, okay.
Thank you.
And you're gonna have a little outside, you got an outside now, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. Will that change at all? That'll stay the same?
Yeah, we're gonna keep everything as it is. We just
Yeah.
wanna like be able to offer a few drinks,
Right,
but keep the family style
right, yeah, good.
as our plan.
keep the place family oriented.
And with that frozen, all those frozens, you can do non-alcoholic frozen ones too,
Yeah.
so, yeah, good. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Quintal, your digital hand is raised. Questions for the applicant?
No, just to add some information for the board. I got a call in to ask some questions when they were applying for their license. And I went down there and walked the premises with them. And like he said, there's not going to be a bar. It's to offer frozen drinks and caipirinhas, as they say in Portuguese. That's one of their famous cocktails. And some beer. I asked about the outside bar, and he said no. I walked the premises, and it's cordoned off. And the reason I really went down, my main concern was it abuts St. Mary's Church. Other than the driveway, it's within, probably 50 feet for the rectory. And so that was really my concern. And I spoke with Lisa Johnson, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and she assured me that St. Mary's was on the abutters list. So it seems to be like everything's good there. So I just wanted to share all that with you guys. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And for the
Whitson.
record, I don't sell them vegetables. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from any members of the board for the applicant? All right, seeing none, is there anyone else here, other than the applicant, to speak in favor of this particular application? Seeing none physically, seeing none digitally. Anyone here to speak in opposition for this application? Seeing none physically, seeing none virtually. All right, any other questions from any members of the board? Seeing none, if that's the case, I will close the hearing for this particular application. What is the wish of the board as to?
I would like to make a motion to approve the all alcohol license for these folks.
Mr. Bletzer has moved that we approve.
Second?
Mr. Golden has seconded that we approve. Do we have any discussion as to whether or not we should approve this particular annual all-alcohol restaurant liquor license? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and good luck.
Appreciate it, thank you. Thank you.
All right, that brings us into the other licenses that are on our agenda. We have some amplified music licenses. We have a one-day all-alcohol license. What is the wish of the board as to the other licenses?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the outdoor amplified music and the one-day alcohol licenses as a group.
All right, there is a motion by Mr. Golden to approve the remaining licenses as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Bletzer has seconded Mr. Golden's motion. Any discussion from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We have approved the remaining licenses that are on the agenda. That brings us into our administrative notes. We have 11 listed administrative notes. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of the board in relation to any of the listed 11 administrative notes? If not, I would solicit a motion to approve them as a group.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Golden has moved that we approve the 11 administrative notes as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Mahoney has seconded. Any discussion from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote on the
I vote
11
yes.
notes? That is a yes. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We have approved the 11 administrative notes.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I meant to bring this up when we were doing the outdoor amplified music. Under the race wire stack sports, I looked at the time, I believe it must be, I think it's a mistake. It says from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. I would think that that's a.m.
It is a long road race.
Right. So to have a DJ for that long, I don't think that's, so I believe it's AM. So I would like to, can we re-vote on that and correct it?
So,
How does that work?
Mr. Bletzer has made a motion that we amend something previously adopted in relation to the race wire stack sports. Before I accept that motion, I would tend to agree that it probably is 11:30 a.m. Do we have any specific information about whether it's supposed to be 11:30 a.m.?
Well, it's not till December 22nd, so I would think that it's AM, and then if we have to change it, we can.
So why don't we amend the prior motion by removing this from the authorized and putting it on a future agenda when we have a definitive
Is
answer?
that the way, whatever.
So Mr. Bletzer has made a motion that we amend something previously adopted, specifically the the licenses that were amended as a group to remove the race wire stack sports from that. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Golden has seconded. This requires a 2/3 affirmative vote because it is being provided without notice. Do we have any discussion about whether we should amend something previously adopted to exclude that particular license? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote to amend something previously adopted to remove that particular license. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It is unanimous. That license has been excluded and will be included on a future agenda once we have clarity on the end time. Mr.
And
Bletzer?
just for the record, I picked up on this too late to let Lisa know to correct it, so it was too late,
Okay,
because I would have done that ahead of time. So,
understood.
thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Yep.
All right, so we have amended the licenses. We've already approved the remaining licenses. We've approved the administrative notes. That brings us into our agenda proper again, and we have a Memorials Advisory Committee appointment. We have a one-term available. It is a 2-year term, and we have an applicant, Matthew Hernan. Mr. Hernan is in attendance. If you'd like to take the podium, you can introduce yourself, and then we may or may not have questions for you. But if you'd like to introduce yourself and perhaps explain your background, why you're interested in the position, that would be helpful. Thank you.
So my name is Matthew Hernan. I recently just got out of the military on September 30th after 11 years and 11 months. Back in April, I started a nonprofit working with veterans from, I'd say, World War II up until the Korean War and Vietnam War timeframe. What I realized was that there was an issue within like the federal level of like the records being lost. 18 million records were actually burned in a fire. So I figured out a way to actually like recover them and honor these men and, all of these service members that had been, lost over time and forgotten. So September I started school, working in political science. So I want to get involved more in the community. I want to be able to actually do more. And I feel like this would be like the perfect, step to take because I'm working on, memorializing, this big, huge group of 18 million service members and figured this would be the, the proper way to do it, so.
All right, thank you. What branch of the service did you serve in?
I was in the Army.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hernan? All right. Easy crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for your application.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion in relation to Mr. Hernan's application to join the Memorials Advisory Committee for a 2-year term?
I'll move approval.
Mr. Mahoney has made a motion that we approve his application and appoint him to the 2-year term. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. Bletzer has seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to say one thing.
Mr. Bletzer?
Mr. Lyden right here is on that committee. Before you leave, you want to talk to him. That's all, sorry.
Very good.
That's
Thank you.
okay. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo Mr. Canty's gratitude for your service. And,
Thank you.
I'm the former chairman of this committee, and I look forward to everything that you'll bring to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for a vote as to Mr. Hernan's application. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Hernan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for your willingness to continue to serve. That brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being a solar PPA informational presentation, and we are joined by Mr. Mike Cahill and presumably Adam Teff. Mr. Cahill.
Good evening, members of the Select Board, and thank you for having us tonight. My name is Michael Cahill. I'm the Climate Resiliency and Sustainability Planner for the town. I'm joined here tonight with Adam Teft, who is our consulting engineer on this project, and he is with Titan Energy. Here's the clicker. I came before you back in May with members of the Climate Action Net Zero Committee, where you voted to approve our Climate Action Adaptation Plan. Just as a quick reminder, that was 62 priority actions within climate action, focusing on 5 areas of focus: buildings, energy and infrastructure, natural systems, health, safety and preparedness, waste, and transportation. This project that we're going to discuss tonight is within the Buildings, Energy, and Infrastructure section of the plan. It's directly aligned with Action BEI 2.2A, identifying opportunities for microgrids and energy storage at critical facilities in town. We issued an RFP back in June, I believe, where we look to develop solar at 5 critical infrastructure locations across town. Those areas are the Plymouth Public Library, DPW headquarters in Camelot Park, Plymouth South High School, that also includes Plymouth South Middle School as well, Plymouth North High School, and then the Cedarville landfill. So at 4 of those locations, we're proposing solar carports, which will provide covered structure for our town-owned vehicles and maintenance equipment. Additionally, it will provide power generation and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We're also proposing rooftop solar at 22 Mary B. Lane, a property that was formerly acquired at Fall Town Meeting of 2023 at the TPW headquarters. And additionally, a solar landfill at the Cedarville landfill down on Hedges Road.
Mr. Mahoney is
Yes, thank you. Mike, so that, what is that picture of?
Sorry, these are just photos, just to give you a sense of what we're looking at. This is not, this
that
is not a
doesn't
rendering.
exist right yet?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We will go over some of the locations where we're proposing the arrays, though. So this is Plymouth Public Library. Once again, like I mentioned, we're proposing carports at this location, and there are 2 right by the back entrance of the parking lot there. I should note that all of these carports have a minimum height allowance of 14 feet, allowing vehicles to get underneath and egress to remain open. This is DPW headquarters, parking all behind the fence there along the right-hand side of the building if you're looking at the front entrance. Providing covered parking for the town-owned vehicles there. I should note, too, that we're working with the DPW department to expand this carport to other locations in this area, but this was the RFP that we put out back in June. This is 22 Mary B. Lane on the southward side facing end of the building. Plymouth South High School. This is the parking lot behind the building. As you can see, there is currently solar on top of the building, and that was a PPA agreement that went in place in 2014. Adam worked on that project, and he can speak much more in depth to the details behind that project. But once again, carports in this area. This is Plymouth South Middle School. This is the loading dock of the building right here. So this is right to the left of it. The main entrance is over in this location. But once again, carport solar for this parking lot. And then finally, Plymouth North High School. This is the football field over in this area, and this is the parking lot located directly behind the building. So we worked up some numbers. So with the bids that we got back, until we finalize the bid, we're not able to share exact costs that we're expecting from this project, but we did put them in ranges to give you a sense of the projects that to what the financials could be behind this project. I should note that we will be probably leaning towards the more lucrative side of these projects, but we have the building there, we have the annual kilowatt production, we have the solar cost per kilowatt hour, and I'll let Adam get a little bit more into that and behind the meter, the annual cost savings that we have, and the lifetime savings. I should note what we're looking to do with this project is a 20-year agreement that will be in place with the vendor that we select. They will take on all the maintenance of these these structures. After the 20 years has elapsed, we can elect to either extend that contract, purchase the equipment from the vendor, and continue the project with our own resources, or they would remove those structures from the property and revert it back to the existing conditions currently. And with that, I'll hand it over to Adam for some of the financials.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for hosting me tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about this project. So just generally, I think it's good to everybody to be kind of up to speed on the idea of a power purchase agreement and what that means, how those contracts work. Town of Plymouth and Plymouth Public Schools have existing power purchase agreements in place already. So this is really just more of a complement to what the town and the schools have done thus far. The basic idea is that the vendor that's selected from the process will come in, build, own, operate these assets, and Town of Plymouth and Plymouth Public Schools will simply buy the power at a set price for 20 years under that arrangement. So when you look at the chart, we have itemized by location, And again, the ranges and the way that, was suggested to us that we were to present this is a little bit difficult to interpret just by looking at it. Long and short, if you look at the solar dollars per kilowatt hour column, in the far left-hand corner, those are the effective price per kilowatt hour from each of those systems. So you can see they range anywhere from 0.0012 cents per kilowatt hour up to just about 5. But through the RFP process, we hosted vendors on site, we analyzed the results that came in from that bid process, and my recommendation would be to go with the folks that are the low bidders on this project. Everybody was equally qualified. We vetted all the proposals to make sure that there were no kind of outlier assumptions being made in any particular proposal. So they've all been standardized and reviewed by our group. And then the annual savings associated with that is simply just a function of your Eversource costs on one hand compared to the solar costs per kilowatt hour. Exact same kilowatt hour, just significantly cheaper. Brought to you by systems that are co-located with your building. So the annual savings are of note. I think they're particularly strong, and they lock in a low power price for the next 20 years, plus offer the amenity of covered parking at these locations. Sure.
And then, so these are for the carports and the rooftop solar at DPW. Next, we're also evaluating the Cedarville landfill. You can see a lighter blue, three lighter blue swaths running through this area. These are areas where the grade was beyond 15%, and for that reason, we were not evaluating solar at these locations. But these darker blue areas are areas where we are confident that we can put panels. I believe in total it comes out to a little bit over 7 acres. And then once again, with the financials for this piece, this will work as a lease agreement rather than a PPA agreement. But what we're expecting in terms of revenue would be somewhere between $135,500 and $195,000 annually in lease payments from this vendor to have this location set up on site. And with that, I'll actually turn it back over to Adam to talk a little bit about the difference between a lease agreement and a PPA agreement.
Sure. So, in the lease agreement scenario, the power is actually going back to Eversource. There's no utilization by the town, per se, of that power. Unlike the carport projects, that energy would be created and utilized on site. So the transaction is a little bit different, but the end result is really the same to kind of extract the maximum amount of value from these projects that we can. There's no load on site that could be served by a project of this size, so that's really the only option that we have. But ultimately, it's a lucrative deal for the town for a fixed 20-year lease, 20 years. Some of the benefits of having a system that's leased like this is, there's no production risk for the town, there's no operational risk for the town. It's really up to the vendor to perform and ensure that the system's functioning, for that 20-year period. They're making their money back by creating power and selling it back to the utility. And very likely that this project would be placed in service as a community solar asset. So there would be opportunities for households, lower income households, to receive utility bill credits from this array. We've tasked the vendor with aligning off-takers for the project, for the community solar piece, simply because it's a heavy administrative lift. But I think it's helps kind of tell the story of the project to know that it would ultimately be placed in service in that way.
Is that, just so we're clear, the annual lease, that's money coming to the town?
Correct, in the form of direct payment from the vendor per year.
Okay, so they're paying us for some of the money they're deriving by selling the energy generated by the solar panels to energy.
Right. So, effectively, for the rights to utilize that footprint.
Okay. All right.
So in total, over the 20-year lifespan, adding both of those projects up together, we'd be expecting, in between the energy savings cost and the annual lease payments, we'd be expecting somewhere between $5.3 million and $10.2 million that would go to the town. And then in terms of timeline, we secured approval from the select board last night. With this presentation, we'll be able to move forward with executing a contract with the vendor. We anticipate that to happen by the end of the year. Additionally, from there, we would submit our Eversource interconnections by January 30th of 2025. And then from there, submitting our state applications by Q3 of 2025. And then we would expect construction to take place anywhere from January to June of 2026. It's important to note that although these projects are bundled together, if there is a project that takes longer permitting, that won't hold up the rest of the project. We can still move forward with the other 4. And that's all we had. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Mr. Mahoney.
So, Mike, I appreciate the efficiency in your presentation, and really it's second to none. 2 quick questions. Can you go back to the, okay, right there. So the 5.3 to the 10.3, that's not only, that's a combination of revenue coming into the town, but expenses not going up by being locked into a lower rate per kilowatt, correct? All right. Can you go back to the overhead view of the building on Marabee Lane? So strategically, that looks like to me that you're maximizing out 50% of the roof area of that structure. Is there some rationale, or is that standard, or is that specific to that one building?
Sure, so I can answer this one. So there's really 2 factors that go into play. One, that particular facility doesn't require much more energy production than that system would provide it. And when we build, so we have the south-facing section of the roof there, which is going to get maximum sun exposure throughout the course of the year. On the north side of the building, your production is going to be significantly less. So the first reason I gave is really the primary. The building doesn't really need more. And secondarily, even if it did, we might utilize a little bit of it, but not much.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we go back to the slide with the 5 project sites, the library to Plymouth North, with the financial slide? I'm no math whiz, but if I multiply 5,300 by 20 years, I come up with 106,000, not 230,000. Is that because there's an escalator in there somewhere?
Correct.
Yeah, so there's 2 dynamics in play here, and when we calculate future savings, and there's different ways that we can do this, but the way that tends to bear out the most over time is you lose about 0.5% per year in energy production from the panels just due to natural degradation. And then your comparison price, the utility price, we have a 2% escalator annually factored in. Again, it's always a bit of a challenge to, forecast 20 years, into the future of what energy prices are going to do. So different ways you could go about it. You could even just assume your baseline case year 1, no escalator. You lose a little bit from the panels, but that's why the math looks as it does, because we do factor that in.
I'm satisfied with that answer, thank you. Can we go to now the Cedarville landfill financial slide? When I multiply 135,500 by 20 years, I come up with 2.71 million, not 2.94. Is that math, just incorrect math?
Off the top of my head, I mean, that sounds like it could be possible.
It's not huge, it's a.
Yeah, so it should be a
monumental
straight
difference, but I just wanna
line
make sure that we
basically
have the-
between 20 years, hence, because there's no degradation factor, there's no escalation taken into account. So whatever lease rate you lock in that year 1 will stay consistent. through
Yeah,
the term.
when I multiply 195 by 20 years, it does come out to 3.9. So I just want to make sure that our math is correct.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
It could,
That could have just been one of my typos. I
That's all
apologize
right.
for that.
Yeah.
Everyone does that from time to time.
yeah, but just, the key takeaway is the lease rate that gets locked in year 1 stays consistent.
Perfect,
20 years.
thank you.
Well, what is if the lease rate remains consistent, what's the explanation for the goalposts then? Is it based on, is a production part of that? So if it's a sunnier year, you'd get more, or?
So in the bid results, we had folks that were proposing layouts that, we try to give the best guidance that we can and give everyone access to the site so they can study topography and make sure that they're all working from the same assumptions. We did have some variance across the board in terms of how people sized the array. So the vendors that came in, some sized it frankly too large. Some, I thought were basically, kind of underdeveloping the site. And some of this also could factor into, some site work that gets done in the future in terms of leveling that site to create more opportunity for a larger system. So I think there's still a little bit of kind of play in where the system size is ultimately going to land. But again, in kind of service of representing the bids that came in, we did want to give that range. So, on the low end, obviously, it's, kind of in the 135 range and the high up to 2, but there's still kind of more work to be done in terms of finalizing that system size. And again, if there are other ways to present this bid so we could itemize and show who presented what and what their lease rates were, it'd probably be a little bit more clear. But trying to just make sure we're following the guidance of the folks in purchasing so we, give a fair presentation here to everybody.
Okay. Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes, Adam, I got a question for you on the Mary B. Lane, on that building.
Sure.
What's the condition of that roof? Have you looked at the roof, and if there's issues with the roof, is that something you folks will repair at no cost to the town, or?
Yeah, so the roof's in good condition. It's a standing seam metal roof. That typically when we advise on these projects, we're looking for 20 good, useful years from a roof that's in good condition now. There've been no reports to me of any leakage or anything that needs to be addressed on the roof. If there was something that needed to be addressed on the roof, we'd do it beforehand, and ensure that's part of this process, that before anything went up on the roof, that
So
everybody
there's
felt
not going to be any hidden cost to the town?
Right, so even in any situation here, our goal would be if there are, and this would apply to any of the projects, the vendor is responsible for covering those costs.
Sure, okay.
And not putting the town in any exposure to
Good.
have to make fixes up front.
Great answer, thank you.
So that, when we were purchasing that, we had some tours available, so I was able to tour that, as were other members of the board and town meeting members and other board and committee members. So that building there are some office spaces in it, but a lot of it is like a warehouse-type building. So that roof is sturdy enough to support half of it having solar panels on it? I assume it must be if you're planning on putting them on there.
Yep, so
but
we
I feel
evaluated this,
better
yeah.
asking the question.
Sure, yeah, we evaluated the structure, and even in addition to the work that we've done already, it would be standard process for the vendor to have their own third-party structural engineer evaluate it and sign off that the roof can support the weight of panels. So we have multiple checkpoints here where we would uncover if the roof was not able to support the additional weight.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from any other members of the board? Hearing and seeing none? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings the board into public comment for this evening. Do we have any members of the public who wish to make public comment? You just come up to the microphone, introduce yourself. Public comment is 3 minutes per speaker.
Hi, my name's Aaron Keaton. I'm an environmental researcher and community advocate with the Community Land and Water Coalition. We are a grassroots group trying to bring awareness to sand mining in our local communities. And today we are delivering a petition to put an immediate moratorium on sand mining. We delivered the petition to the governor back in August, and now we're going town by town to deliver it to the select boards. Essentially, we're seeing an increased amount of sand mining in our region. We've documented over 100 sites in Plymouth, Wareham, and Carver where large amounts of earth are being removed and extracted. It's a global commodity, so we have one of the last remaining deposits of this type of sand that is used in building materials and concrete. So our land is essentially being exploited for this resource, and the community is paying the price. Acres and acres of forest are being clear-cut and strip-mined. Our biodiversity is being lost. We live in a globally rare Pine Barrens ecosystem, and we're losing more of it every day. We have a sole source aquifer, and this is the sand that protects it. So our drinking water is at risk, and it's not only a threat. You know, I have met people personally who their wells are contaminated, and their neighbors are scared that their well is going to get contaminated. So, you know, a moratorium, the point of it is to kind of stop what we're doing, look at what we have done, and kind of go from there, because we have never fully studied the impacts of what is going on and what the future impacts will be. About 6.1 million cubic yards of sand have been already stolen from this land, so I think that it's time to kind of put a stop on it so that we can assess the damage and hopefully, you know, regulate this more carefully, because we don't really necessarily have bad earth removal bylaws, we're just not enforcing it. A lot of these companies are financially benefiting from putting our community at risk, and so you know, that's why I'm here today, and I think we're going to have another presentation to go into a little bit more detail, but if I can approach, I can give you the petition. We've had over 1,200 signatures.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak in public comment? Take the podium. You have 3 minutes once you get there.
Could I present some slides, please?
If you can do it in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My name is Catherine Harrelson with Community Land and Water Coalition, and I'll just spend a few minutes talking about sand mining. We are a grassroots nonprofit organization based out of Plymouth, but we advocate for educating the public on the environmental impacts of sand mining all across southeastern Massachusetts. We focus on grassroots environmental organization to get residents and citizens more involved in public decisions that affect the environment, including earth removal permits for sand mining. What I'd like to draw attention to is that this is not just a local issue, which is why we're focused on it. This is actually a worldwide issue. Sand is actually the second most extracted resource on Earth after water, and there's starting to be more global environmental awareness of this issue. So much so that in approximately 2021, the United Nations formed the Global Sand Observatory Institute in order to collect global data on the amount of sand mining that's going on, because it's not a very well-studied issue. We believe that the sand that's being extracted from southeastern Massachusetts is part of this global sand mining extraction phenomenon that is concurrent with the rise in development over, basically in the 21st century that we're seeing. One of the impacts of sand mining is that it takes place away from urban areas because urban areas are already overdeveloped, and sand mining takes place more in rural and undeveloped areas. These are often sensitive environments, such as the globally rare southeastern Massachusetts pine barrens. There are a lot of costs to sand mining that don't get discussed when an earth removal permit is granted, such as leaving behind a desert. We all know that sand is very hard to grow things in, so once you remove the topsoil and the vegetation that's there, it's a long time before the site can be revegetated. It eliminates the filtration for drinking water, it destroys biodiversity, and people are being impacted by this. Sand on their homes, sand on their cars, afraid to go outside, afraid to open their windows. It's a nuisance, but we believe it should be studied as a public health hazard. Oh, also it contributes to climate change. The loss of forests and loss of biodiversity is part of climate change. And we have calculated over 1,000 acres in southeastern Massachusetts have been lost, 1,000 acres of forest have been lost when sand mining permits are handed out. Oftentimes, when an applicant receives a permit for sand mining, there's no environmental impact study, there's no archaeological assessment. There's no safety precautions, there's no air monitoring, and there's no consideration of long-term environmental impacts, including the impact for climate change, the creation of heat islands, and the loss of just the air quality that can happen when you remove trees from the environment. These are just some pictures that we've collected of sand mining southeastern Massachusetts. This is off of Tohonet Road on the border of Wareham and Plymouth. This is the Frankenmarsh Cranberry, and we have, like I said, there's over 110 sites like this in southeastern Massachusetts. And you can see that just the environmental impact from these photographs that happens. Oftentimes, these are out of sight of the public eye because of buffer zones.
You've exceeded your 3 minutes. Would you like to request additional time?
Could I request 1 additional minute?
I can give you 1 additional minute.
Thank you. And we just want the committee to start, the select board to start connecting the dots. Sand has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from southeastern Massachusetts because the type of sand in southeastern Massachusetts is very appropriate for construction. So we believe that the sand underneath our feet is creating a financial incentive for some of these development projects that are going on that's not being discussed. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to give public comment at this time? I do not see anyone in person. I do think I see a digital hand raised on Zoom. I believe it is. Mr. Everett Malaguti, if you would like to speak under public comment, you may unmute yourself and speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Am I unmuted?
Nope, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Everett Malaguti, Vice Chair of the Energy Committee. I would like to commend Mr. Cahill for the presentation tonight, stating the projects for the microgrids, the solar canopies, and also the landfill solar. This has been an ongoing effort of the Energy Committee for many years. It has been part of our short, mid, and long-term range goals for getting solar, not just for the financial incentive, but also for the energy creation and production, which was part of us pursuing the Green Communities Division Awards and grant. And I'm very pleased to see this come to fruition. And this is one of the big tasks that the Energy Committee has helped facilitate with the help of Mr. Cahill and also formerly Patrick Farah. And it's very exciting, and this is one of the ways that Plymouth is going to be able to not just be a leader in the green economy and green energy portfolio, but also as green in the financial sense of actually being cost-saving and energy-wise for the residents of Plymouth and for the town and taxpayer dollars. So again, I'm pleased, along with the Energy Committee, for this presentation tonight, and hopefully these projects go forward in this fashion and the incentives provided. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Any other members of the public? I see another digital hand raised. You want to recognize, all right, if you unmute yourself, Ms. Sheehan, you may speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Meg Sheehan. I'm here to support the moratorium petition for the moratorium on sand mining. I don't know if you can see me. I do have my camera on, but.
You cannot, but you may continue to speak.
Okay, thank you. I'm the co-author of the Sand Wars report, www.sandwars.org. In 2015, Emily Clark wrote an article in the Old Colony Memorial in which she called Plymouth the sand capital of the South Shore. We believe Plymouth is certainly the sand capital of the Northeast, and there have been many, many permits issued over the past decades. Most of them have been ruses for extraction of sand, such as cranberry agriculture and subdivision plans. All we have to do is look at the project on Route 3. Started mining without a permit. That's now about 10 to 15 acres. It has been mining in the aquifer since approximately 2021. The permit was granted after citizens exposed the fact that it was operating without a permit. The permit expired in 2024. It's currently operating without a permit. As I said, there was a request for enforcement in 2023 because there was an excessive amount of truck traffic in violation of the permit. We have 200 acres of proposed sand mining in South Plymouth. You saw a slide earlier, 30 acres of that has already started. That's 200 acres of sand mining by A.D. Makepeace under the rules of cranberry agriculture over our sole source aquifer. That took a citizen-led effort to expose the fact that that permit had expired in 2022 and 72 inspection reports were missing. We constantly get requests for help from citizens of the town of Plymouth who are experiencing the harmful impacts of sand mining, dust, which is a carcinogenic silica dust. The silica sand that's being mined is silica. It is carcinogenic, and it is regulated by the Mine Safety and Health Administration, but not by any other regulator in the state or the town. There are projects on Bourne Road, the Pine Hills, Red Brook, and I'd like to perhaps end with talking about the county woodlot, where there is, as you may know, a 20-acre, 50-foot hole in the ground that was one of the highest hills in the town, where you could see the water from Long Pond Road, the top of that hill. Many people were very upset in 2015 or 16 when the Zoning Board of Appeals gave a permit to extract sand from that site in order to build a solar project. While there is no solar project there, we have a 50-foot hole in the ground and there's no mitigation, and nothing can grow again in human time, according to experts who say that these sand mines create deserts where nothing much can grow again in human time, as I repeat. So there
You
really
have
needs to
exceeded your
be
3 minutes,
a
Ms.
look at
Sheehan.
this
Would
from
you
the
like
town
to
level,
request
and we
additional
urge you to
time?
put on a moratorium.
All right, your remarks appear to have concluded themselves. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak under public comment? Please come to the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Ginny Davis, Precinct 4. I'm one of the, I signed that petition, so I believe there should be a moratorium too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I believe we have a digital hand raised as well. If we could, the individual known as Rachel, if you wanted to speak, you may unmute yourself and please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Atkins. My family has lived, worked, and recreated in Plymouth for 6 generations. I'm here tonight to speak out against the many years of sand mining in Plymouth and across Plymouth County, specifically proposed project at 71 Hedges Pond Road. I'm one of the founding directors of Save the Pine Barrens and the Community Land and Water Coalition. Save the Pine Barrens has several hundred members and a mailing list of over 2,000. I continue my active involvement in the Community Land and Water Coalition because of my lifelong connection to Plymouth area, its environment, and its people. These lands hold deep historical and environmental significance. The area targeted for mining on Hedges Pond Road is part of the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe's Great Lot, a site of immense cultural importance as it was the first government-established Native American reservation in the United States. The town has failed to conduct a proper archaeological study of the site to fully understand the historical weight of this land. Allowing it to be mined at this point would be an irreparable travesty. What makes this particular sale extremely troubling is that in 1993, the town of Plymouth unanimously voted to protect this land as part of Cedarville Conservation Area under the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. Now the Plymouth Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit, is selling the land to be sand mined to developer E.J. Pontiff. This kind of transaction betrays the trust of the people of Plymouth, and it disregards the intent behind the unanimous town meeting vote. Even more concerning is the cumulative impact on the region. The proposed sand mining on the site is part of a larger destructive pattern across Plymouth County. Since the 1990s, over 110 sand and gravel mines have stripped 2,600 acres of forest, extracted 61 million cubic yards of sand in more than 2.5 million truckloads, enough to circle the globe 1.3 times. These operations have leveled topography and in some cases dredged into the Plymouth Carver source aquifer, which supplies drinking water to 200,000 people. Despite this, no environmental impact reviews have been conducted, exposing our water supply to contamination. The Pine Barrens, one of the world's rarest ecosystems, has been severely damaged, along with wetlands and streams. With sand prices soaring due to global demand, new mining projects like the one proposed on Hedges Pond site threaten to compound the damage. We can't afford to let this mine add to the environmental devastation already plaguing our region. I stand here tonight urging the Select Board to reject the sand mining proposal and adopt a moratorium on further sand mining, regardless of how it is packaged, to appear harmless and incidental to the stated plan.
You have exceeded your 3 minutes. Would you like to request additional time?
I'm done.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak under public comment? Please come to the podium and identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Emma, and I'm here to also speak in favor of the...
Can you state your last name for the record, Emma?
Kroll, Emma
Thank you.
Kroll. And yeah, I'm here to speak about the petition, and I really, really urge you to look at this. This is over 1,000 people saying that we need to stop and actually look at the impacts of what's happening here. I'm part of the generation that will be inheriting these consequences, and so I really, really urge you to utilize the resources we have. We know what we need to look into. We know what we need to be studying, and we're seeing people being affected by this in negative ways. And yeah, I want to ask that you're thinking about the Plymouth, you're thinking about Plymouth not in terms of short-term gains, but also about us and what will happen when it's 10 years down the line, and we're having to deal with forests that will never grow back and an aquifer that we have to depend on for water resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? It appears there's another digital hand raised. Under public comment, we have Kathy Shea. Ms. Shea, you have up to 3 minutes once you unmute yourself and start speaking.
Thank you very much. I did sign this petition, and I support the moratorium. And I think it's a disgrace what the sand mining has done to the Wampanoag tribes. My family has lived here for over 70 years, and I have actually been here for 13 years. And I see what it's doing, the sand mining is doing to our environment, taking down our trees. I think it's terrible. Not only that, but what it's doing to our drinking water. I don't know how it's going to affect our ponds, our beautiful ponds of Plymouth. And I'm really concerned about the future of our children. My grandchildren will be coming to our cottage on Great Herring Pond. What's it going to be like for them? At the very least, let's look into this. And I definitely support the moratorium. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard under public comment? I think that's the same digital hand. Okay, and no one else physically. All right, that concludes public comment. That brings us into the town manager's report. Mr. Brindisi.
All right, great, thank you so much. I'll start off, I wish I had brought a copy with me. Last week, the new communications coordinator, Casey Kennedy, launched the town's attempt to inform and educate our residents on the regular business of town government and the various projects that have taken place in its quarterly magazine. For those of you that are on the website, for those of you that are on social media, you can find electronic copies to that quarterly magazine. You can also find hard copies. We have some here at Town Hall and at the Center for Active Living as well. So this is our first attempt. There'll be other modifications made to future editions. We're looking for feedback, things where we can make improvements. But again, the goal is to try to provide information to our residents so they understand how their tax dollars are being spent annually. I want to mention the Blue Future Conference. Mr. Mike Cahill is still here. this evening. Him and Steve Cole were the two individuals amongst others who organized the Blue Future Conference. This is the third year in a row the Blue Future Conference has taken place here in Plymouth. There were a number of really great breakout sessions that took place. Students were involved this year. We had a number of businesses that took place that came down to visit the conference. And then Green Sea, which is one of our marine tech companies that are here in town from Vermont, they received the Anchor Award. So congratulations to Green Sea for their Anchor Award. Moving on, I was notified today by David Gould, our Director of Energy and Environment, that he is meeting with state agencies and the Army Corps of Engineering on the $25 million federal dike project. So again, that is a project that we're hoping that'll start sometime in the next 12 months, thereabouts. And that is to repair the stone structure that is going south from the crossover north up to Day Parking. From Day Parking going north up to the crossover. So again, that's a major project that we're getting $25 million of federal funding for. So more to come on that. And I also want to report today, hearing from Mr. Gould, that the parcel of land that was acquired through town meeting action a year ago on Rocky Hill Road, there was an old structure that was still on that piece of property that has now been removed by our DPW, and they will be beginning cutting in trails on this big parcel of land on Rocky Hill Road. So again, thank you to CPC for funding that project. And then next Monday at the Hotel 1620, the CAL is presenting their first ever senior conference. We are expecting over 150 seniors who will be in attendance at this conference. Again, that'll take place all day at the 1620. And then tomorrow evening, the Health and Human Services Department has been working very closely with BAMSI on a recovery event. So tomorrow night at the library, there'll be a premiere showing Viewpoint that'll take place. We have folks from BAMSI, the executive director and others will be there to speak about the work that they're doing here in this community around preventing fatal and non-fatal overdoses and trying to help people into recovery. As far as some DPW updates, the Management Water project is continuing to move forward. So White Horse Road, Rocky Hill, Management Point, Bartlett, and Priscilla Beach Road, the water project has been completed on those roads. So in the next few weeks, they plan to mill and overlay just the trenches to get us through the winter period. So those folks that live on those roads, we just want them to know this is just kind of a temporary patch, and then in the spring, we'll do a curb-to-curb overlay. And then to finalize this water project, next year, they'll be going down Brook Road and completing that aspect of the water main project. And then once Brook Road is complete, that Minimum Water project will be complete. I want to recognize Captain Keith McDonald from the Plymouth Fire Department. He's a part of a FEMA response team, and he was deployed to North Carolina to assist FEMA in the response to Hurricane Helene. He was down there approximately 4 weeks, and he just returned. So first and foremost, I want to thank him for his commitment to this nation and then helping those folks in North Carolina who were, as you all know, were in dramatic need. Early voting is here. It started last Saturday, October 19th, and will end November 1st. We've already processed about 1,500 people have already come in for early voting in the very short 4 days. And then we are expecting approximately 20,000 mail-in voters and early voters to take place prior to the November 5th election. So a lot of work is taking place at the town clerk's office, as you can imagine, and I believe starting next week, and we'll have this all posted on the website, they will start opening the envelopes and processing them. And that's a public process, so anyone can come in and can watch that process like any other election. And then last, I just want to announce this coming Saturday, October 26th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day will take place, and that'll take place at the DPW at 159 Camelot Drive. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brindisi. Any questions for the town manager from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, thank you again. That brings us into select board discussion. First and foremost, new business. Any members of the board have new business? Mr. Mahoney.
Derek, just a quick comment with respect to the multiple individuals who spoke about strip mining and the sand removal from the community. The first two speakers got up to public comment, a man and a woman. I can't remember which one, but they said that the town has strong bylaws. So I'll take that as a given. So the key is enforcement. So I know there's always two different sides to this, but certainly whatever we have on the books in the short term has to be enforced equally, objectively, across the board, irrespective of whoever we're dealing with. And obviously, I mean, if we find out that it's a question of proper staffing, I would support rectifying that situation. But I mean, there's no good in having a bylaw on the books if it's just nobody's paying attention to it. And I think that's the least we can do at the beginning going forward.
If you don't mind, I could respond. I talked to Lee Harmon about this, and currently, there's only one active gravel removal project taking place here in town. So as these folks were in public comment, they would make it sound as if like there's a number of projects that are actively taking place here in town, and there's actually only just one. And as you know, Mr. Mahoney, the gravel removal permits are issued by ZBA and enforced by our Inspection Services Department. And I know they've had those conversations in the past with the prior Director of Inspection Services. So we're certainly happy to follow up on that. But I just, I think it should be noted that the pictures that were shown this evening, they weren't Plymouth. None of those images had anything to do with Plymouth. They were all other communities. So the problem that was presented, I don't think is quite severe as they'd like us to believe.
Any other members of the board have any other new business? Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just let the board know that the groundwater wastewater discharge citizens advisory committee has been meeting over the last several months. Today we completed a tour of the wastewater treatment facility on Camelot, and I want to just publicly thank the entire DPW department for their cooperation and assistance in executing the work of this committee, but particularly Doug Pinard and Kendra Martin, who organized today's tour. The facility is very well run. It's impressive what they're doing over there. I look forward to bringing more information to this board in the future, and hopefully a positive recommendation as to how we can move forward in our permitting process.
Mr. Bletzer.
I'd just like to talk about, we had a dedication, the community down in Whitehorse Beach for retired firefighter Lieutenant Paul Azief. His community got together, and the neighbors, friends, family, and they dedicated a bench to him. It's right at the bottom of Azief Way and Taylor Ave. And it was great. The fire department, DPW, police department, our town manager was there. Some of our select board members were there. It was a great event, and that's a real community down there. It was great to see. I was proud to be a Plymouth resident, but he was quite a person, and I hope people that see that bench will look at it, read the inscription, and realize that all you have to do is just help your neighbors, help your friends. You can make a difference. And Paul Azief did. We need more Paul Aziefs. So I just wanted to congratulate that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bletzer. Any other members of the board have any other new business? Hearing and seeing none. Any letters? Hearing and seeing none. Any old business? Hearing and seeing none. That brings us to what is likely our last motion for the evening, that being the motion to adjourn, having concluded our business.
I'd like to make that.
Mr. Bletzer has made a motion that we adjourn, having concluded our business. Second. Mr. Golden would like to second. Any objection? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We are adjourned at 8:05 PM. Thank you.